Why put together this material? Why put out a podcast? Why distribute this out to people? And I have a really unfulfilling answer for that. God told me. Welcome to the Altered Call Podcast. My name is Alex Pillischafske. I want to thank you for joining me on these introductory episodes. I hope that you enjoyed this overview of the material coming soon. And that sounds really dumb. I know that sounds really dumb. I used to roll my eyes all the time when people said stuff like that. But ultimately, listening to God is a skill. It's something you can develop if you pay attention. The problem is not whether or not God is talking to you. He is talking to you constantly. What you need to accept is that you are an imperfect receptor. Sometimes you're going to hear him wrong. Sometimes you're only going to get part of the message. Sometimes you're going to hear a message from somewhere else and think it was from him. It's hard. It takes practice. And a lot of times, God speaks to me, and I don't know. I don't know what he said. I don't know why he said it. I have to figure it out. But there are a handful of things that he's said to me over the course of my life that have been crystal clear. And most of them are leading to this moment right here. I don't know why he wants me to do this, but I am thoroughly convinced that he wants me to do this. And I'm going to honor that. 7 or 8 years ago, I was gifted with my specific calling. At that point, I'd been trying to listen to God's voice for a number of years. And what I heard was build men. Just those 2 words. That's it. No context, no ideas. Build men. And let's be honest, at this point in my life, that could not have been more confusing. What do I know about men? I was raised almost exclusively by women. I'd never participated in a men's group. I'd never really even had a male mentor at that point. I had, however, spent approximately 20 years volunteering with children in trauma. I'd done that for a long time. I was very good at that. Why didn't he want me to do that? Build men. That's all I heard. I had no idea. I had no idea what to do with that. So a couple of years later, I moved to a new church. That church has a men's ministry. I'm like, okay, well, my calling is with men. I guess I should at least be going. So I go. Show up 15 minutes early to the first night. Apparently that was enough for me to be on the volunteer team. They said, hey, you're part of this now. I said, okay. I'll set up chairs. I'll do whatever you want. I guess this is where I'm supposed to be. A month or 2 later, I had attended that month's men's group. And that night I couldn't sleep. I just kept getting the same words over and over and over again in my head. The same exact words, back to back to back. I said, God, what are you doing? What is this? These aren't my words. But it was a message for the men's ministry. I said, okay, fine. I went downstairs. I typed it up. I sent it to the leader. I said, I don't know what this is, but I think you're supposed to have it. He said, okay. You're on the leadership team now. That was it. Those words never came up again. About a year later, they decide that they're going to restructure the group. They decide that they want discipleship. The problem is, nobody has any idea what that even means. Which is a problem in and of itself, that a church doesn't know what discipleship is. But I said, you know what? I have an idea if we want to give it a shot. The leader of the group said, go. You have my full endorsement. Do whatever you want. I built out a group based around an idea that I had gotten from a previous church. And I started working with men. And what happened in that group was amazing. God stepped in really, really big ways. Men needed that group. Men's lives were being changed. And I looked around and I said, oh, these things that I've been doing in my own life actually work. And guys actually care about them. And these things actually matter. Maybe I do have something to say to men. Maybe I'm not the least qualified person in the world as relates building men. Again, I'm not going to take credit for any of this. I didn't do any of this. I know exactly what I brought to those groups. And let's be honest, I have skills that are very valuable in that setting. I'm very good at certain aspects of leading those groups. But I didn't do it. God stepped in. He brought me the right people at the right time. And I was able to use my skill set to help them take apart their life so that God could rebuild it. I was never supposed to be the builder. What I was meant to do was to tear down the walls that the enemy had built so that God could rebuild these men. That's what we're going to try to do here. I don't know if it's going to work, but God said to move. Then he surrounded me with amazing people that said, this material matters and you need to get it out there. So that's all I'm doing, is I'm trying to honor God's call and those people, and I hope that it helps. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to help you tear down the things that the enemy has built, and I'm going to encourage you to seek God so that he can build you back up. He's the only one that knows what you're supposed to look like. He's the only one that knows what you're capable of and what you're called to. That's not mine. I don't get that information. I don't want that information. I'm going to show you how to tear things down. He's going to show you how to build things up. And that is why we are here. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Altered Call Podcast. I would love to hear from you. Please leave a review or find links to what I'm doing in the show notes.